Several economic trends have emerged after the pandemic and the beginning of the 2020s, and one that's really hard to ignore is the rise of wealth among India's billionaires. The 2023 Oxfam report suggests that billionaires increased their wealth by an average of 121%, while the bottom 50% of the population have seen their savings depreciate during this exact time. It obviously raises the question again, should India focus on taxing the super rich? What impact will that have for equitable access to resources? That's exactly what we are looking to explain today. Let's bring up these numbers. Those numbers that are coming up on your screen look quite astonishing. 1% or 1.3 crore people own more than 40% of the nation's wealth, while the bottom half of the population, that's around 70 crore people, own just 3% of the nation's wealth. And what's worse, just 21 of the top richest people in the country own more wealth than 50% of the country put together. For years, the super rich have had the privilege of not paying their fair share of taxes. Here are some recent trends. The report says only 3% of tax came from the top 10%, while 64% of GST collections came from 50% of the population at the bottom of that wealth list. So simply put, billionaires or centimillionaires have seen their wealth increase exponentially, while their share of taxes actually went down. Let's bring up Gautam Adani, India's richest man, and his wealth accumulation that we've been reporting on, the kind of wealth accumulation we've seen in 2022, just last year. While the rest of the world fretted over high cost of living and rising interest rates, Gautam Adani has managed to increase his wealth by more than 34%. And that's billions of dollars, really, that we're talking about when you talk about 34%. Then there is Mukesh Ambani. He's not new to topping the list of the wealthiest in the country and the world. Whether it is a compilation of Indians or the global super rich, he's there on that list. While his wealth remained largely flat last year in 2022, he still remains the second richest Indian and is 3 times richer than the third richest Indian. Oxfam cites the data it compiled to tax the super rich. This is what the world would look like in a more equitable economic scenario. A one-off 5% tax on India's top 10 billionaires could go ahead and support all children to return to school. A one-off tax on Gautam Adani's unrealized gains from the year 2017 to 2021 could employ more than 50 lakh teachers for a year. The government could provide nutrition security to the entire country for 3 years if it levied a 2% tax on all its billionaires. The union budget is around the corner and the middle class is lining up to get some tax relief. While the government may not have the funds it needs to cut taxes for them, it could explore the possibility of taxing the ultra-rich 100 Indians, and that would fund the entire union budget for 18 months. Again, to put this simply, the Oxfam report makes a strong case to tax the super rich, but that could come with its own challenges. The biggest challenge being that there could be an exodus of funds to more tax-friendly nations. Oxfam has come up with some ways to avoid the migration of wealth holders to other countries by implementing a progressive tax system. It has also recommended the introduction of a wealth and inheritance tax because it observes that this is the best way possible to ensure equitable distribution of wealth. It suggests a one-off windfall tax could also be considered on the top 1%. The Indian middle class has been paying its taxes diligently for years. Salaried employees like you and me should be rewarded for a career that pays for India's growth. So how about giving us a tax break for a year? The Oxfam report suggests a permanent increase in taxes on the top 1% could make that possible. It also calls for a raise on the capital gains taxes on equity returns to make wealth distribution more equitable. And that could enhance budget allocation for health, for education, which of course have seen being underinvested in India. Unless you are in the top 1%, this must seem fair. But is the government listening? And more importantly, will it act before India's wealth is more concentrated in the hands of the super rich?